Moesha, 1996 to 2001, was one of the most influential sitcoms of the 90s, starring Brandy Norwood as Moesha Mitchell, a strong, witty, and relatable teenager dealing with family, friendships, and the ups and downs of growing up. The show not only entertained, but also reflected real-life issues, making it a cultural staple for many fans. With its unforgettable cast and heartfelt storylines, Moesha left a lasting impact on television history. But what became of the stars after the final episode aired? Some, like Brandy, continued to shine in music and acting, while others took surprising new directions or stepped away from the spotlight altogether. Join us as we revisit the beloved cast of Moesha and see how their lives and careers have unfolded over the past 2 decades. Lamont Bentley, born October 25, 1973, took on the role of Hakeem Campbell in Moesha in 1996 at the age of 23, embodying the witty, ever-hungry best friend whose loyalty to Moesha made him both comedic relief and a symbol of street-smart resilience. Hakeem was loved because he represented the underdog, resourceful, charming, and determined to carve out a better life, despite circumstances. Bentley himself came from a life of poverty and pain in Milwaukee, raised by a single mother after his father's absence, enduring bullying for his threadbare clothes and struggles to fit in. Acting became his escape, but behind his bright smile lay years of insecurity, anger, and a sense of abandonment he never fully healed from. Though Moesha brought him recognition, his career faltered when the show ended. He was cast out of projects, and his rap career collapsed when his record label abandoned him after poor sales. Hollywood whispers painted him as unreliable, late to sets, and prone to reckless spending, especially on gambling and flashy cars, which left him trapped in debt. Friends hinted at depression and substance use, fueled by bitterness over his fading opportunities. The worst blow came when a much-hyped project meant to revive his career was canceled before production began, devastating him both financially and emotionally. His personal life was chaotic. Volatile romances, strained friendships, and a gnawing sense that he had been discarded by the industry he gave everything to. By 2005, Bentley was living restlessly, driving too fast, chasing the thrill of control he lacked elsewhere. On January 19, 2005, his car veered off a freeway in Ventura County at high speed, killing him instantly at just 31. His death shocked his peers, a haunting reminder of squandered talent and wasted potential. At the time of his passing, his estate was worth less than $500,000, much of it drained by bad financial decisions and failed ventures, leaving behind little more than the tragic legend of a young man who shone brightly but was extinguished far too soon. Bernie Mac, born October 5, 1957, played Uncle Bernie on Moesha in 1996 at the age of 38, bringing to the series his trademark style of brash humor, laced with hard truths, often balancing comedy with a rawness that made audiences laugh and think simultaneously. On screen, Uncle Bernie was both an agitator and a mentor, a character larger than life, but with an undercurrent of vulnerability that resonated deeply. Off-screen, however, Bernie's journey was marked by bruises few saw. He grew up on the south side of Chicago in a household shaken by poverty and the early loss of his mother to cancer, forcing him into adulthood before his time. His stand-up career was born from those hardships, but his rise in Hollywood was anything but smooth. For years, he faced rejection for being too raw or too urban, and the industry often dismissed his talent until his breakout came late. He earned a reputation for bluntness, sometimes clashing with producers who saw him as unmanageable. And his most devastating career setback was the abrupt cancellation of The Bernie Mac Show despite strong ratings, leaving him embittered toward studio politics. His personal life seemed stable, married to his high school sweetheart Rhonda, but rumors of extramarital flings and estrangement from extended family surfaced in his final years, though never publicly confirmed. Behind the laughter, Bernie silently battled sarcoidosis, a disease that scarred his lungs, and the weight of the illness, coupled with grueling work schedules, wore him down. When he died on August 9, 2008, in Chicago, at only 50 years old from complications of pneumonia, the entertainment world was blindsided. At the time of his death, his net worth was approximately $15 million, largely from stand-up tours, television, and blockbuster films. But more than the money, his legacy was that of a man who turned private pain into public laughter, leaving fans mourning a star who had much more to give. Yvette Wilson, born March 6, 1964, became Andell Wilkerson in 1996, at age 32, the sarcastic yet nurturing owner of The Den, who was more than just comic relief. She was the character who provided wisdom when Moesha and her friends needed it most. A steady adult presence that contrasted with teenage drama. Audiences loved her as the witty, sharp-tongued confidant. But Wilson's off-screen existence was far removed from the comfort she offered others. Her childhood in Los Angeles was marked by instability, poverty, and ridicule about her appearance, which pushed her to use comedy as a shield, hiding pain behind punchlines. Though she carved out a place in Hollywood with stand-up and supporting TV roles, she was constantly typecast, battling an industry that saw her as the funny big friend rather than a serious actress. Her career's harshest blow came when several film projects that promised to expand her range collapsed, leaving her financially stranded and bitter about being overlooked for parts she believed were hers. Behind the laughter, she dealt with failing relationships, betrayal from people she trusted, and the crushing reality of medical bills piling higher than her residual checks. The quiet scandal of her final years was not one of sex or crime, but of neglect by an industry that once applauded her. Friends were forced to raise money for her cancer treatment, exposing how broken the system was. She endured kidney disease, multiple surgeries, and the humiliation of financial instability. While her personal life shrank under the weight of illness, Wilson died on June 14, 2012 in Los Angeles at 48, succumbing to cervical cancer, leaving behind less than $300,000. A tragic reminder that fame does not always protect against ruin. Her legacy lives on in the hearts of fans who saw her as the soul of Moesha. Yet the truth remains raw. She was a woman crushed by an industry that took her talent but left her bankrupt of support. Brandy Norwood was born on February 11, 1979, and became Moesha Mitchell in 1996 at just 17 years old, stepping into the shoes of a sharp, independent teenager navigating high school, family pressures, and the confusion of young adulthood. Moesha quickly became a cultural touchstone, a character celebrated for her confidence and moral compass, yet also polarizing for her bossy streak and stubbornness. Off-screen, Brandy's early life was less glamorous than fans imagined. Raised in a modest Mississippi household before relocating to California, she endured years of being teased for her appearance and voice, bottling up insecurity until stardom offered a fragile escape. Fame came fast and merciless. While her debut album went platinum, she faced industry cruelty, being told she was too plain to succeed in an era obsessed with image. Behind the success were scandals carefully concealed. The most shocking was the 2006 freeway crash that killed a mother, haunting her reputation despite her avoiding criminal charges. Years earlier, she faked a marriage to hide a pregnancy, a lie that erupted publicly when the supposed husband exposed the truth, branding her manipulative and obsessed with controlling her image. Brandy also battled rumors of diva-like outbursts, bitter fallouts with collaborators, and even an alleged rivalry with Monica that turned violent behind the scenes. Her personal life was no refuge. Broken engagements, strained family ties, and struggles with depression and eating disorders shadowed her every success. She collapsed under the weight of expectation more than once, most dramatically when a nervous breakdown forced her into seclusion, her career teetering on ruin. Yet Brandy clawed her way back with Broadway runs, reality TV, and music, though never reaching her 1990s dominance. Now at 46, she lives in Los Angeles, maintaining an estate valued around $12 million, comprised of real estate, royalties, and business ventures. Her legacy defined as much by scandal and survival as by her undeniable cultural impact. William Allen Young was born on January 24, 1954, and in 1996, at the age of 42, he became Frank Mitchell, the stern yet loving patriarch of the Mitchell household, embodying the role of a father torn between guiding his children and concealing his own flaws. On screen, Frank was a symbol of authority, discipline, and traditional values, yet also controversial for his secrecy and authoritarian control, sparking debates among viewers about whether he was protective or hypocritical. Young's real life was built on hardship. Raised in south-central Los Angeles amid violence, drugs, and poverty, he was mocked for being studious, hiding his vulnerability under a mask of strength, a survival tactic that later fed into his portrayal of Frank. His career was one of endurance more than glory. He endured endless rejections, relegated to guest roles while watching less talented peers skyrocket past him. Though no tabloid scandals stuck, insiders recalled his difficult reputation, demanding respect on set to the point of tension, clashing with younger cast members who resented his strictness, echoing his screen persona. His greatest professional disappointment was being repeatedly overlooked for leading film roles in the 1980s and 1990s. A humiliation compounded by Hollywood's preference for token roles that reduced him to typecasting as the stern black father. Personally, his marriage, while outwardly stable, was rumored to endure stormy periods of neglect as he threw himself into activism and work, leaving cracks beneath the polished exterior. The grief of losing childhood friends to gang violence weighed heavily, and his lifelong frustration with systemic racism in the industry fed his sharp public criticisms, earning him both respect and quiet enemies. Now at 71, Young continues to live in California, taking occasional TV roles and dedicating himself to social justice work. His fortune, estimated at $2 to $3 million, lies in steady television contracts, modest investments, and teaching positions. His legacy, that of a man who fought bitterly against invisibility, embodying both strength and simmering disillusionment. Cheryl Lee Ralph, born December 30th, 1956, became Dee Mitchell in Moesha in 1996 at the age of 39, playing the elegant, no-nonsense stepmother and high school principal whose strength and compassion grounded the series. Dee was both nurturing and authoritative, embodying the moral compass of the show and earning admiration from audiences who saw her as the embodiment of wisdom and resilience. Off-screen, Ralph's story is far more layered. Born in Connecticut and raised between the U.S. and Jamaica, She grew up confronting prejudice for her accent and skin tone, mocked by peers but determined to prove her worth. She broke barriers early, making Broadway history with her Tony-nominated role in Dreamgirls in 1981. But Hollywood offered more rejection than triumph. She was repeatedly dismissed as too assertive or too ethnic for leading roles. Resentment festered as younger peers eclipsed her, and she developed a reputation for being fiery and uncompromising, clashing with producers and colleagues over pay inequality and script choices. Her activism for HIV/AIDS awareness in the 1980s, inspired by the deaths of close friends, made her a target of industry backlash, with some studios privately labeling her too political and denying her roles. Her personal life was tumultuous. Her first marriage collapsed, marred by infidelity and bitterness, and later relationships left her bruised before she found stability with State Senator Vincent Hughes, though even that marriage brought scrutiny and political pressures. She endured financial hardship in the 1990s after failed attempts to produce her own projects, losing investments, and nearly declaring bankruptcy. The pain of friends' deaths, family health struggles, and her own bouts of depression added to the weight she carried in private. Yet Ralph clawed her way back, reclaiming her career with a resurgence that culminated in an Emmy win in 2022 for Abbott Elementary, finally achieving the recognition she had long been denied. Now 68 in 2025, Ralph enjoys both reverence and influence, with a net worth estimated at $5 to $7 million, built from decades of work in theater, television, speaking engagements, and real estate investments. Marcus T. Paulk was born on October 12, 1986, and in 1996, at only 9 years old, he became Miles Mitchell, the mischievous and witty younger brother whose comic antics provided levity in the Mitchell household. Audiences adored Miles for his innocence and sharp humor, but Paulk's childhood was marred by instability. Raised in a working-class family, he carried the burden of being the breadwinner, enduring bullying and jealousy while concealing loneliness behind his cheeky grin. After Moesha ended, the reality of Hollywood's coldness hit him hard. Casting directors dismissed him as typecast, and his career slipped into humiliating obscurity, with failed auditions and projects that collapsed before release. His biggest humiliation came not from rejection, but from scandal. In 2013, he was arrested for domestic violence after allegedly assaulting his girlfriend, a case that tarnished his wholesome image, followed in 2014 by a DUI arrest tied to a wild Super Bowl party that branded him as reckless. Rumors swirled of gambling debts, arrogance on set, and erratic behavior that sabotaged independent projects, leaving him with a reputation as unreliable and difficult to ensure. His personal life mirrored his career chaos, volatile relationships, financial struggles, and whispers of estrangement from family who once relied on his child star paychecks. Depression and anonymity haunted him, and though he resurfaced occasionally in minor film roles, boxing promotions, and music ventures, he never regained the cultural weight of his Moesha years. Now at 38, Paulk scrapes together a living through sporadic appearances, with a net worth estimated at $500,000, a shadow of the stardom he once embodied. His story is that of a child icon consumed by fame's demands, undone by scandal and poor choices, surviving in fragments while the memory of Miles Mitchell remains a haunting reminder of innocence long lost. Countess Vaughn, born August 8, 1978, stepped into the world of Moesha in 1996 at only 18 as Kimberly Ann Parker, the brash, hilarious, and unapologetically confident best friend whose larger-than-life personality transformed every scene. Kim's comedic timing made her iconic, and Vaughn's natural charisma drew immediate attention, but her reality was riddled with darkness. Raised in Idabel, Oklahoma, she was tormented in school for her weight and her voice, forced to bottle insecurities that would later consume her. Her early fame from winning Star Search gave her a taste of stardom, but it also trapped her in the spotlight's harsh judgment. Vaughn revealed later that she had an abortion at 18 to protect her career, a decision that haunted her while simultaneously exposing Hollywood's pressure on young actresses to remain marketable. The success of the Parkers secured her place in TV history, but behind the laughter, she faced scandals, diva accusations, feuds with co-stars, and ridicule over her fluctuating weight. Her greatest career setback was the slow fade of opportunities after the Parkers ended, with industry whispers that she was too difficult to work with and unfit for leading roles. Vaughn's personal life mirrored the chaos: an abusive marriage, public spats with partners, and the devastating revelation of alopecia caused by toxic wig glue, which became tabloid fodder. She battled depression, struggled with self-image, and fought to rebuild both her career and her confidence while raising children in the glare of unwanted media attention. Though her stardom dimmed, she leveraged reality TV appearances and live performances to remain afloat. In 2025, at 47, Vaughn continues to work sporadically. Her net worth estimated around $1.5 million, supported by acting, music, and stage work. She lives as both survivor and cautionary tale. A woman who made millions laugh, but who has carried wounds the industry never let heal. Fredro Starr, born April 18, 1971, joined Moesha in 1996 at 25 as Quentin Q. Brooks, the rebellious boyfriend whose bad boy charm electrified the show and turned him into a controversial figure both on and off screen. Q was a character who clashed with Moesha's family, embodying danger and romance at once, and Fredro leaned into that energy with ease, blurring the lines between his persona and the character. Raised in South Jamaica, Queens, Starr's childhood was rough, surrounded by violence, drugs, and constant survival mode, shaping his toughness long before fame. As a founding member of Onyx, he exploded onto the music scene with aggression and rawness, but Hollywood found him both magnetic and difficult. His career suffered a brutal blow when a highly anticipated film project collapsed after he got into a physical altercation with a fellow rapper, cementing his reputation as volatile. He fueled tabloid headlines with rap beefs, especially a notorious feud with Keith Murray, and whispers of street ties, anger issues, and explosive on-set behavior. Off-screen, his romantic life was chaotic. Rumored affairs, messy breakups, and accusations of infidelity painted him as the very bad boy he played on TV. He endured the loss of close friends to violence, the death of collaborators, and his own health scares from years of living fast. Yet Starr never fully vanished. He reinvented himself with independent films, solo albums, and underground projects, proving his resilience even as the industry shut its doors. By 2025, at 54, he has found a fragile balance, focusing on music, family, and investments, with a net worth of around $2 million from royalties, acting, and entrepreneurial ventures. His legacy is layered. He was Q, the magnetic rebel who captured Moesha's heart. But he was also Fredro, the street-hardened survivor who fought against himself as much as he fought the world. John Huertas, born October 23, 1969, joined Moesha in 1998 at age 27 as Antonio, a charming and smooth-talking character who added an adult edge to the teen-centered narrative, often creating tension in romantic subplots with his suave demeanor. Viewers were captivated by his cool presence, though some criticized the character's manipulative streak, which John played with calculated precision. Unlike the easy confidence he portrayed, John's childhood was riddled with challenges. He was born to a Puerto Rican father and a mother of German descent and spent much of his youth caught between cultures, bullied for his mixed heritage, and burdened by family instability. He escaped by joining the U.S. Air Force, serving 8 years as a pararescue man, a past he rarely discussed openly, but which gave him discipline and a sense of detachment. His Hollywood career was slow burning. Before Castle and This Is Us made him recognizable, he endured humiliating rejections and the stereotype of being just another Latino supporting actor. His greatest career heartbreak came in the early 2000s when a lead role in a major pilot was stripped from him after studio executives deemed him not marketable, a slight he never forgot. Though largely scandal-free, colleagues whispered that John could be fiercely competitive, sometimes undermining peers to protect his roles. In his personal life, he kept relationships private, marrying later in life but facing whispers of infidelity and clashes over career sacrifices. Despite the struggles, John persisted, carving a reputation as reliable and versatile. Now, 55 in 2025, he continues to work steadily in television, balancing acting with directing, though he has admitted in interviews to feeling overlooked compared to his peers. His net worth stands around $2 million, modest for a veteran actor, with his assets tied to residuals, directing projects, and real estate, a reminder of the difficult reality that steady work in Hollywood doesn't always translate into fortune. Shar Jackson, born August 31, 1976, joined Moesha in 1996 at just 20 years old, stepping into the role of Niecy Jackson, the fun-loving, fashion-forward best friend whose sass and loyalty balanced Moesha's seriousness. On screen, Niecy was fearless and confident, adored by fans for her comedic timing and her refusal to be silenced. But Shar's life was stormier than the character who brought her fame. She grew up in a fractured home in Los Angeles, the product of a mixed-race family that endured financial strain and social stigma. She faced taunts as a child, mocked for her looks and heritage, and learned to project confidence while hiding insecurity. After Moesha ended, Shar's career slowed drastically. Small guest spots and reality television kept her visible, but she never recaptured the momentum of her youth, and whispers in Hollywood painted her as hard to cast after clashing with producers over creative control. The scandal that defined her came in 2004, when her longtime partner Kevin Federline left her for Britney Spears while Shar was pregnant with their second child. The betrayal humiliated her worldwide. Her heartbreak and pregnancy splashed across tabloids and turned her into an unwilling character in one of pop culture's most notorious love triangles. Shar fought to maintain dignity, co-parenting with Federline despite rumors of his neglect. But her personal life was scarred by depression, mistrust, and financial instability. Subsequent relationships collapsed, often marked by accusations of infidelity or toxicity, leaving her to raise her children largely alone. Though she appeared in shows like Celebrity Fit Club and other reality projects, these appearances often painted her as combative and desperate for relevance, overshadowing her talent. She endured grief over the deaths of close relatives and wrestled with the pain of watching Federline and Spears' media circus eclipse her own career. Now, in 2025, at 49, Shar has faded from the limelight, living quietly as a grandmother while taking occasional small roles. Her net worth, estimated at around $500,000, is modest by Hollywood standards, reflecting decades of financial missteps and the lasting impact of betrayal. Ray J., born January 17, 1981, entered Moesha in 1999 at age 18 as Dorian D. Money Long, the charming but conniving half-brother whose presence disrupted the Mitchell family dynamic and ignited storylines full of betrayal and secrets. Fans were drawn to his smooth delivery and streetwise charisma, yet off-screen William Ray Norwood Jr. was far more notorious. Raised in Macomb, Mississippi, before moving to Los Angeles, he grew up in the shadow of his talented sister Brandy, always struggling for validation and dealing with relentless teasing over his need to prove himself. While Moesha gave him visibility, his Hollywood climb was turbulent, overshadowed by rumors of arrogance, manipulation, and an inability to separate his image from scandal. His lowest career moment exploded in 2007, when a leaked sex tape with Kim Kardashian transformed him into a tabloid villain, sparking lawsuits, blackmail allegations, and a toxic cloud that lingered for years. His reputation for public altercations, from drunken Vegas incidents to televised arguments, cemented him as unpredictable, while failed music projects and accusations of exploiting his relationships dragged him into near irrelevance. His love life mirrored chaos. Highly publicized romances ended in explosive fallouts, with claims of infidelity, emotional abuse, and staged publicity stunts for fame. Despite reconciliation attempts, his marriage to Princess Love unraveled amid cheating allegations, bitter social media wars, and custody battles over their children. Yet resilience became his currency. After near financial collapse, he reinvented himself through entrepreneurship, notably with Raycon Global, a brand criticized for aggressive marketing but wildly profitable. Behind the scenes, friends describe him as paranoid and mistrustful, haunted by betrayal and failure. As of 2025, at 44, he remains alive, living between Los Angeles and Las Vegas, flaunting cars, property, and business ventures, with a net worth of about $14 million. Proof of survival in an industry that once tried to bury him. Lamard J. Tate, born in 1970, joined Moesha in 2000 at age 30 as Jerome, a recurring figure whose comedic timing and streetwise presence injected humor into the show's later seasons, while offering a gritty counterbalance to the polished sitcom world. Audiences enjoyed Jerome's swagger, but Lamard himself grew up in Chicago, battling hardships that left deep scars. His family's modest means, exposure to crime, and constant taunts from peers over his ambitions forced him to harden quickly. Though part of the talented Tate family with brothers Lawrence and Laren, Lamard often felt overshadowed, pigeonholed as the less celebrated sibling, and industry insiders recall his bitterness toward Hollywood's hierarchy. His career swings were wild. Though he landed acting and producing work, he endured years of obscurity, missed opportunities, and accusations that he rode his brother's coattails. His darkest failure came when a high-profile project he produced collapsed in financial disputes, leaving him tied to lawsuits and whispered accusations of mismanagement. Personal life brought no peace. Romantic relationships were fraught with accusations of unfaithfulness and volatility, with one long-term partner allegedly leaving after public altercations. Friends noted Lamard's battles with temper, gambling habits, and the insecurity of being typecast as comic relief, while craving dramatic respect. Yet he clawed back, working steadily in television and film, though plagued by family losses. including deaths of relatives that deepened his mistrust of Hollywood friendships. In 2025, at 55, Lamard remains alive, still hustling between acting and behind-the-scenes roles. His fortune estimated at $14 million, tied to properties, film investments, and quiet deals. Beneath the success lies a man who fought to escape the long shadows of both his brothers and Hollywood's ruthless typecasting machine, carving out a space where survival itself became his most defiant act. Thank you for joining us on this nostalgic journey through classic television history. If you enjoyed learning about the cast of Moesha and where they are now, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe for more vintage Hollywood retrospectives, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing your memories and suggestions, so let us know which TV show or movie cast you'd like us to feature next.